We were just a bunch of nerdy kids who ignored the haters. We took their ridicule and we built on it. And when some of us gave up, well, we built on that too. Built resilience, built on a mission to make things a little better every day until the users came. Then the haters were VCs who scoffed at our audacity. This just isn't the way things are done. But we kept building. Users turned into teams, turned into companies, running their entire businesses on our apps. Then the software giants came after us. We weren't proven, we weren't fully featured, our radical cloud model wasn't secure. But we built on. And today, as companies adopt the cloud to move faster, teams are finding themselves slowed down by each other's efforts. The skeptics are claiming we'll never develop innovation at scale. But now, DevOps have come to the cloud, ushering in a new era of transformation. Companies can release on demand across hundreds of environments, innovating faster with fewer conflicts and fewer disruptions. There will always be challenges. There will always be naysayers. And we'll build on.
Hello everyone, welcome to Virtual Dreaming. Hope you all had a great time today. So we have our session today with our speakers, Abdul and Jayesh. Welcome Jayesh and Abdul.
My name is Abdul Ghafoor and I'm a Salesforce developer at Salesforce Eternal Solutions Private Limited. Over to you, Jayesh.
Right, yeah. My name is Jayesh Tejwani. I'm working as a solution architect at Ray Soster. So before we begin the session, I want to take this opportunity to say every human being must offer thanks at least once every day to God for having been born. So what is going on currently, we all know, and are like almost 4.5 million people affected by COVID. And again, we are so blessed that we are able to be here, talk to each other, be part of this team, and it's again a blessing. So just like taking 5 seconds to close our eyes and really thank and offer gratitude to God. Thank you. What's the agenda? We are here to tell you how you can use tools like Salesforce DX and GitLab to deploy faster and better with accuracy. So that's our agenda. We're going to talk about both these applications, Salesforce DX and GitLab, and we're going to show a demo. I'll quickly cover the slides so that we can then jump on a demo. So currently, how we do deployment, we use chain sets, or we use other mechanisms to do deployments where we have we develop in one org and we move our code base to test org, then staging org, then UAT, and then production. And it's all integrated. The teams are working in silos, and everything is not so like we're not working in collaboration. So that's why Salesforce came up with Salesforce DX to really help the developer community to work in collaboration. So what is Salesforce DX? It's nothing but a modern way of software development, which on Lightning platform. It was source driven. The whole metadata lies in the VS Code, where we can deploy that completely. It's end-to-end development where we work in agile fashion, and we can implement our project lifecycle. Like it's rapid. It's rapid in sense where we can do automation testing, and we can do quick deployments. It's mainly, again, it's for open because it can be integrated with various tools, various plugins, and it really helps you with various extensions. And we have it helps team collaboration because you can work in collaboration with the other team members. It is open. It's prescriptive. Not everyone is a release management expert, so it gives you that steps. Guidelines how to do the deployments using Salesforce DX CLI. Again, it's built for enterprise for having greater agility, and it's integrated with various other environments. So that's about Salesforce DX. What is Salesforce CLI? It's again command line interface given by Salesforce to manage various like creating of sketch orgs, creating and managing different orgs, authorizing orgs, then importing and exporting data. Then also you can automate testing using Salesforce CLI. We can install packages. That's Salesforce CLI. So how do we manage modern application lifecycle management with Salesforce? We have some plan of this is what we're gonna release in a month's time. Then the teams come together, they code, and they build the software, the application. Then they test in the various orgs, and then they release as a maybe an unlock package or a managed package to the customers. So Salesforce DX gives you tools at each and every lifecycle, at each and every stage of this lifecycle. It gives you at building and development, it gives you CLI, it gives you VS Code, it gives you SketchOrg, so that you can develop faster, you can push it, and you can test, and you can test as soon as possible. You can commit your kit, you can test it. And it also gives you continuous integration with the test automation, so you can automate your testing. You can you don't have to do any manual test approach. Then you can deploy faster to your various orgs, so that you can release faster, and then you move it between your various sandboxes, and then you finally release. So that's that's all possible with Salesforce DX and Salesforce CLI. We have two development models, org-based and package-based. The org-based model is nothing but where we have delta of changes, which is moved between orgs, from a developer org to sandbox to your staging on in the production, using metadata API and Salesforce CLI and VS Code. And package-based development is nothing but modularized. We modelize our metadata into unlock packages and like some dependent units where we have a app combined together, like a calculator app or some app together. It's combined. It's deployed as a complete package with increment of their versions. So you don't have to worry about the version management and all that. It's deployed completely as a package altogether. So today, what we're trying to show you is we're going to try to show org plus package-based development. It's a hybrid which we're going to talk about. We're going to use change-based. We're going to manage our version control using, and we're going to use SketchOrg. We're going to use source push and pull. Then we're going to do programmer testing. Again, if you see the underlying bar, it says it's GitLab. It's all completely managed in GitLab. GitLab comes up with its own source version control management. Then it gives us the CI/CD pipeline to manage our complete deployment workflow. So we're going to code, we're going to build. Again, it's all going to be in SketchOrg. We're going to move to our sandbox and then production. I'll move quickly so that we can jump onto the demo. So the benefits of CI/CD with GitLab Flow is that it gives you CI/CD, which we can continuously integrate, where we can automate our testing and we can continuously deploy. It gives us the branching model. It gives us the pipeline based management. Then the benefits are development efficiency. The whole development team is working faster. We're removing all the manual intervention. We're releasing more often. So GitLab is nothing but an end-to-end solution which is integrated with Salesforce with all your production and sandbox environment, staging environments. It gives you project management. It gives you collaboration. It gives you, again, it's integrated with CLI and SketchOrg and everything. So I will we'll hand over the mic to Abdul so that he can start with the demo. We're gonna talk about how we're gonna create a feature branch from our test branch, and then we're gonna push everything to our master branch using SketchOrg and sandboxes. So this is our flow for today. So over to you, Abdul.
Hi, Jayesh.
I can hear you. Yep. Can you share screen?
Yeah. Can you please make me co-host again? I think I'm not a co-host. I left the meeting because of the connection issue.
I just did, Abdul.
Okay. Thank you very much. I'm gonna share my screen. So, are you able to see my screen?
Yes, we can.
Okay, cool. So let us start with the GitLab. That is the base of everything right now. So I'm gonna go ahead and open up GitLab.com. So we are going to click on new project because we want to create a new project. Now there are a couple of options here. So for this demo, we are going to select import project, and we are going to select repo by URL. The purpose of doing this is because I have created a template, and that template will be used in this. So you can see the template on my GitHub. The link will be shared to you. So this is the template. So you just need to open and you need to paste it here. Now you can give the project name and select the visibility. Now I have already done this step, so I won't do it again. So let me show you the project that I have already done. So I'll open up the GitLab. So this is the GitLab that we have created for the demo, the project, DevOps SF, you can see here. So now that you know how to create a project, after you have created the project with the template, the next step will be to create branches. So if you click on this plus button here, there is an option to create branch. Now when you click on new branch, it will ask you the name of the branch, and you give the name. So as Jayesh has already said in this his presentation, that there will be two main branches. So if I click on this branch here, it will show me two main branches. One is the master branch, and another is the sandbox branch. The master branch is associated with the production instance of Salesforce. Similarly, the sandbox branch is associated with the full copy sandbox of the Salesforce instance. Having said that, so as soon as you have set up the project, you have created branches, you will need to eventually clone the project, because right now all this structure is in your GitLab. It is remotely present in your GitLab server, but you need to fetch this into your local machine to work. So for that, you need to click on this clone button, and then clone with HTTPS. Now, when you clone this, you will have something like this. So you will get a folder like this. So this folder will be the exact replica of what you have in remotely what you have at GitLab. Now, so you have the local structure in your folder structure in your local machine. Now the next step will be to add the code from your Salesforce org to this repository. So we're gonna click on this. So remember, we are going to add the code from the production, because that is the ultimate source of truth for us. If you see here, this particular portion in VS Code, it shows us which particular org we are currently operating on. So this is my scratcher, but for pulling this metadata, I will need to be on the dev hub, that is the production org. So if I click on this, there will be a new icon that will come here. So it is also known as the org browser. If you click on this, it will list all of the metadata that is present in your org, and you can choose which metadata you want. And this is the download button. As soon as you click on this, this particular metadata will be retrieved in your local source. Now, that is with that. Yeah. So now as soon as you have added the code from the production, you can again push it to the branch here in the GitLab. So for this demo, we will be creating a scratch org, and there will be a feature branch associated with that scratch org. So let's say we have a feature, we have multiple features. So for every feature, we will create a feature branch, and for every feature branch, there will be a scratch org. So for this, we have already created a scratch org. So what you earlier saw, this was a scratch org that we created. I'll show you how to do it, but since you already created it to save time, let's use this one only. And along with that, there is this feature 09. I showed you how to create a branch from GitLab, but you can also create it from here. If you click here, there will be an option to create a new branch. But since I already created that, and right now I'm on the on my scratch org, so you know the scratch orgs are created from the dev hub. So I will need to be on the dev hub to create a scratch org. So I'll switch to dev hub. So there is a command. So you can press Ctrl Shift P in VS Code. VS Code is a recommended IDE by Salesforce, and you type something like create a default scratch org. When you select this option, it will automatically create a scratch org for you. But since we have already created that, so I'll be using the earlier one. Right. So the metadata that we have here for the demo is layouts and classes. So we will be making changes. One is the one change we'll make in the Apex. One will be the declarative change. So we'll be changing a layout as well. Now let us begin with the Apex change. So I'm going to make change to these classes. So right now these classes in this class there is an addition function. I'm going to modify it to a multiplication function. So let's see right now what's there in this scratch org. So the scratch org is already open. Let me show that to you. So this is the scratch org. So you can see a scratch org has a different name, a unique one actually. So so this is an addition function right now. Now when I will change the function to multiply, and we'll see how what are the further steps that need to be taken. It will be replicated. It will be reflected here also. Change this to multiplication. Now I have changed this to multiplication. Now please observe the change here. This is the source control. We are talking about CI/CD here. So when I click on save, this particular change has been dragged into my source control. If I click here, so this will say, okay, these are the changes. Now which files are changed? So okay, this calculator.class is the file that has changed. Now when I click on this, it shows me what change was made. So earlier, so you can see the red one earlier, it was add. Now the green one, that is a newer one, and it shows that what change has been made. Now let us close this. So this is how we track the changes that were made to the existing code or whatever the new code that has been added. Now that we have changed the class, we also would need to modify the test class. So I'm gonna modify the test class. So right now this is for addition, and now this is for multiplication. Now again, one more file has been changed. So in the source control, there are two files. Now there's a catch here. When we are working with scratch org, there are two main things. One is push and another one is pull. So right now we have made changes to our local repository. And it's not in the scratch org right now. So we need to push this change from the local machine to the scratch org. Now how to do that? You can it's very simple. Control Shift P, and you say something like push. I think I'm still on the dev hub. I need to be on the scratch org for that, because push and pull are specific commands that are for SFDS that are specifically for designed for scratch orgs only. So again, I press Ctrl Shift P. So it gives me two options. One is pull, one is push. So right now I'm pushing the code. So I'm going to click on push source to default scratch org. Okay, this says that the push has been done. So this is my scratch org again. So I'm going to refresh it and see whether it has been pushed or not. Hopefully it's been pushed. Okay, cool. We are good with this. Now I know that the Apex has been pushed. The next thing I need to do would be to run the test classes. So I'm going to open up the developer console. Test, and run, test class, yeah. Okay, it says that the run has been successful. I'm going to close this tab. Now this was the Apex. This was a change in Apex that we made. Now let's make a change in the layout. So I've already opened the page. So I'm going to change the layout of task. I'm going to click on this. And I'm going to add one field here. So for duration, I'm going to add right here. I'm going to click on save. Now the change has been made in the scratch org. So we need to pull the change from scratch org to our remote, to our local machine. So I'm going to go back to VS Code. So as I said, there are two commands. Press Ctrl Shift P. It's very simple. Pull source from default scratch org. Now I'm going to click on this. So it's pulling. And we should see a change here. So yeah, you can see the changes. A new change has been added, that is of the task layer. When I'm going to click on this, it's going to show me exactly what was changed. So you can see in the green and a plus symbol, that means these particular things are added to the metadata, and it shows that a field has been added. All right, now we are done with the changes. Now we need to commit these changes and push these changes to the GitLab. So changes done. So it can all be done through point and click. It's inbuilt in VS Code. You don't have to use any other extension for that. So I'm going to click on commit. Okay, I need to stage them first. Staged. Now I'm going to click on commit. So after commit, the changes are in my local machine only. So unless and until I push it to the origin, it's not going to go into the GitLab. So I'm going to click on this options, push to, and it's here showing me the origin, the GitLab.com, and this is my repository's name. So I'm going to select this, and it's loading. All right, let's go ahead and check in our GitLab. So I'm going to go to repository, then branches. All right. You can see a new feature branch has been added, because earlier there were only two branches, master and sandbox, but now we have the feature branch too. There's one more thing to notice here. More to mention here, that in the diagram we showed that we created a merge request from the feature branch to the sandbox, then created a feature branch from the sandbox to the master branch, that is our production branch. But since we are time bounded, so I'll be directly showing you how to. I'll be directly showing you the merge request from feature branch to the production, and we will directly deploy the code to the production. So I'm going to click on merge request. So in case of sandbox, I would have selected here sandbox, but right now as I'm directly deploying to the production, I'm going to keep master here. Change is done, and push to production. there's something called as an assignee. We'll see what is it in the next step. So I'm going to keep myself as an assignee. I'm going to click submit merge request. So this is the merge request. But before we get into this, there is an important file that I need to talk about, which is deploy these files.txt. So earlier we actually created this pipeline system for a client of ours, and so earlier, as you can see, these are the classes here. So if the client wanted to deploy these classes, he have to create a separate folder and then use and then manually create a package.xml, and through that only he was able to deploy. But the client was not very happy with it, so we had to come with a custom solution. So these files we have created, deploy these files.txt, and in this file we put all the files that we want to deploy. So it's not always necessary that we are going to deploy all of the code, because if there are 100 classes in our structure, we are not going to deploy hundreds of them. We are going to deploy only those in which we have made changes. Now these classes. And if we use this approach, we don't actually have to explicitly create a new folder and copy it ourselves. Of course, the copy is done, but that is done through the scripts. So we'll see that later on. So let's go back to the merge request. So what is the significance of merge request? Suppose there's a developer, a junior developer maybe. So he has written a code, and the team wants to deploy it to the production. But we cannot put the code directly. We need a reviewer first of all. So the reviewer would be the who would be responsible for merging this request. And if you see the tab changes here, it will list down all the changes that were made to the branch. So this is the new incoming, that is add has been changed to multiply. Then there were changes in the test class. Then there were changes in the task layout. Okay. So this is the whole purpose. Now let's go ahead and merge this request. Now, as soon as I merge this request and the code goes into the master branch, a pipeline is created. We'll see how it goes. So I'm going to go to CI/CD, then I'm going to click on pipelines. You can see the first pipeline here. It says it's blocked. There's a reason why it is blocked. So I'm going to open it up. Now you can see there are two options here. One is validate in production, and the other one is deploy in production. So why was it blocked? The reason is because we ourselves decided that it should be human intervention because we wanted to show this as a demo. But you can keep this process as automatic also. So if I click on this play button here, so it will run the scripts for validation. Now it will take a while for that. So let's come back here. So yeah, so I was saying that you can also make this an automatic process. What happens in validation is you run tests, Apex tests, or LWC tests. So these couple of testing and building, it is done in the validation step. So the tests that you run are also configurable. We're gonna see how we can configure that later on. Let's get back to the validation step. So all the authorization is being done. So we are using the JWT authorization here. We'll see how that works. So it's gonna deploy. It's a check only type of deploy. So it's not actually a deploy, it's a validation. All right, so this has been done. You can see it has run all the tests. It is also showing the coverage and the lines that have not been covered. But as the validation has succeeded, we can go ahead and go for the deployment, production deployment. Now, the deployment in production, this option is only invocable if and only if the prior step have been successfully completed. So I'm gonna go ahead and click on play. Again, this step can also be done automatically, but just to show the demo, we have kept it manually.
Hey guys, quick time check, 10 minutes.
Okay. So in the deployment too, the same steps are going to happen. It will not be just a validation, or not just a validation. It will be the actual deployment of the production. Now, as this script runs, let me show you how we configured the GitLab, the connection between the GitLab and the Salesforce. So I'm gonna show you on the Salesforce side first. So for connecting the application to the Salesforce, we needed a connected app. Right. Now there are two key things to notice here. One is the consumer key, that is the client ID, and another one is the digital certificate. These in our GitLab side, we are using these things. So let me show you. Let's first see whether the deployment has been done. It's almost done. All right, great. We are we have successfully deployed the code to the production. So let's go ahead and see how it has worked out for us. And yeah, so this is our production. So this was the class earlier. It was an addition function. Let's refresh it and see. So now this has been converted to a multiplication function. One more thing, let's just see the layout that we changed. So because we made both of the changes, right? Task. Yeah, so this is the field that we added in our scratchot, and it's perfectly visible here. So there's no challenge here. Yeah, so this sums up the entire demo. So in a nutshell, this CI/CD, that is continuous integration and continuous deployment. So this is all being done through a pipeline. So let me show you how we configure that. So earlier I showed you connected app. So how that connection has been done on the GitLab side. For that, there is a configuration file, that is the GitLab CI. So this file is solely responsible for the CI/CD pipeline in the GitLab. Now let me show you. You must have remembered this. Validate in production, deploy in production. We saw this. We saw this here, right? So these are the stages of the pipeline that we defined in the configuration YAML file, and those are similarly visible to us on the UI. Now the authorization part that we were talking about, that is the JWT authorization. So as I said, the client ID was being used. The client ID was there, I guess. Yeah. So this is the client ID that we used. Now another thing is, it says that the key file. So when you see here, it's a digital certificate, and for signing this digital certificate, we needed a private key, the private key that we use to sign this certificate. So we are giving the path to that private key in the JWT authorization command. It is an SFDA command, and then there is a production user and the production URL. So similarly, we did for the deployment in production. So you must be wondering where these variables are being set. So I'm going to show that to you.
A quick time check. We have 4 minutes.
All right. So we go to settings, CI/CD. We have variables. So the variables are set from here. Now the catch here is, you can also use this script for your own project. You can do it for out of curiosity. You can do it for testing it out. Whatever way is suitable for you. And when you do it, you can use the same script I wrote. The Git link has been mentioned in the slides, and you just need to change the production client ID, production URL, production user, and then you are good to go. So that sums this demo up. Thank you. Off to Jesh.
So, all right, guys. Again, thank you for that demo, Abdul. You're gonna answer some questions. Any questions?
So the question is, this method for saving code in a source format. So the code that you're getting is actually in the source format only, because when you're using the VS Code, it says you deploy source to the org, fetch source from the org. So format is actually in the source only, so everything will be stored in the source format only. Just the catch is when you are actually deploying it, so it will be behind the scenes, you won't be able to see it. When you will deploy it, it will be converted into the MD format, and but it will not be visible to you because it's handled by command implicitly. I hope that answers the question. So when you clicked on tick mark, where did it commit then? As you again put it already. Yeah. So as I said, when you commit the code, it's only in the it's on the local machine, right? So the code is in the local machine. It has been committed. Now you need to push the code from the local machine to the remote repository of your GitLab. So for that, you need to push it. I hope that answers the question. If in any case we have conflicts while pushing from VS Code, how will we solve that? Yeah. So so there may be two kind of conflicts that may arise here. One conflict may be from scratch, or one conflict may be the Git one. I'm not sure which one you're talking about, but I think you're talking about Git conflict. So there is a conflict resolution mechanism given by GitLab. There are a couple of commands. So if you use that, it will be it is pretty much easier from there.
So
yes,
there was one question regarding how did we set up the pipeline, and the pipeline was mainly done again through the YAML file, which Abdul was showing, that we had put our complete steps, like where we are going to first do the validation first, and then the deployment. It was all configured. We can have multiple steps of creating sketchlogs from GitLab. Again, we have to put that in a YAML file. That will also create automatically a sketchlog. So all that goes in the YAML file. We'll be posting that template. Again, Salesforce GitLab gives you a SFDX template on gitlab.com/SFDX, where you can see what all steps they have already included. we were doing a hybrid approach where we are not doing a Sketchup creation automatically on the fly. We were doing it manually because we had a specific use case of deploying only a couple of files and not pushing the complete package to the Sketchup. So that's why we chose this approach instead of going to the package-based deployment model.
Okay, there is a question. Is the deployment for all the components or only the change components? So it's up to you to decide. It's up to you to decide which component you want to deploy. You can deploy all the components, but you should only deploy those components that have been changed.
Hey guys, we are right on time. So I think we would wrap it up for now. And people who haven't got the questions answered, feel free to reach out to the presenters individually or their connecting social media platforms. And yeah, we would be posting the recording later sometime. Thank you, Jayesh. Thank you, Abdul, for giving us an awesome session.